Poor girl challenges LeBron James to a basketball game and surprises everyone. Before we start, write in the comments, where are you watching this story from? The sun had barely risen when Maria, a 16-year-old girl, left her small apartment in the Hough neighborhood, one of the poorest in Cleveland. With a worn basketball under her arm, she headed to the deteriorated court in the local park. The cracked asphalt and the backboards without nets didn't stop her from training every morning before school. Maria was the youngest daughter of a Brazilian immigrant family who came to the United States in search of the American dream. Her father worked 2 jobs to support the family, while her mother had passed away 2 years earlier due to an untreated illness for lack of health insurance. Since then, Maria had found in basketball not just a passion, but a form of escape and hope. At school, Maria was a diligent student, but her true passion was on the courts. Unfortunately, her school didn't have a girls' basketball team due to budget cuts. This didn't stop her from playing. She often challenged the boys to games during lunch break, earning reluctant respect from her peers. Every night after finishing her homework and helping at home, Maria would run to Mr. Johnson's bar, a modest establishment that was the community's meeting point. There, on an old TV hanging on the wall, she watched every Cleveland Cavaliers game. Her eyes sparkled watching LeBron James in action, memorizing every move, every play. One day, she whispered to herself, "I'm going to play like that." Mr. Johnson, an African-American gentleman who knew every resident in the neighborhood, observed Maria with a mixture of admiration and concern. "Girl," he would say, "you've got the talent, but this world doesn't make it easy for people like us." Maria knew this. She faced daily prejudice for being a woman in a male-dominated sport, in addition to the subtle, and sometimes not so subtle, racism and xenophobia directed at her immigrant family. But each obstacle only increased her determination. One Saturday morning, while Maria was practicing her shots at the park court, a group of teenagers began to mock her. "Hey girl, basketball is for men," one of them shouted. Maria ignored them, focusing on her routine. She dribbled, spun, and jumped, making a perfect 3-point shot. The boys fell silent for a moment, impressed. "Beginner's luck," another muttered. Maria continued, executing a series of complex moves that ended in another spectacular basket. Without her realizing it, one of the boys had taken out his phone and started filming. Days later, the video of Maria making incredible shots went viral on social media. Suddenly, local journalists began appearing in the neighborhood, wanting to interview the basketball prodigy girl. The sudden attention made Maria nervous, but also hopeful. Maybe this was her chance to get a scholarship to change her family's life. In a live interview for a local broadcaster, the reporter asked Maria about her dreams and inspirations. "LeBron James," she answered without hesitation. "He came from a neighborhood like mine and became the best. He inspires me to believe I can do the same." The reporter, seeing an opportunity to create a sensational headline, prodded, "Do you think you could compete against LeBron?" Maria hesitated for a moment. Her heart was racing. She knew her answer could change everything. With a mixture of fear and courage, she looked directly into the camera and said, "Yes, I could. In fact, I challenge LeBron James to a game, one-on-one. Let him show me what he's capable of, and I'll show him what I'm capable of." The studio fell silent for a moment before erupting in a buzz. The reporter, barely containing his excitement, ended the interview promising to follow the developments of this incredible story. As she walked back home, Maria felt the weight of her words. She had challenged her idol, the king of basketball. Now, there was no turning back. Her challenge would echo throughout Cleveland, perhaps throughout the country. What would happen next was beyond her imagination, but one thing was certain: her life would never be the same again. Maria's challenge to LeBron James spread like wildfire. Within hours, the story of the poor girl from Cleveland who dared to challenge the king of basketball went viral on social media, dominating sports headlines and even national news. At first, many considered the challenge a joke or a publicity stunt. Sports commentators mocked Maria's audacity, while others praised her courage, even if they considered the challenge absurd. The buzz grew so much that after 3 days of silence, LeBron James finally spoke out. In a surprise press conference, LeBron shocked everyone. "I accept Maria's challenge," he announced with a genuine smile. "She reminds me of myself when I was young in Akron. Her courage and determination deserve to be recognized. Let's make this game happen." The internet exploded. LeBron's announcement transformed what many considered a joke into a real and exciting event. The date was set for exactly 1 month from that day, giving Maria time to prepare. Maria's life turned upside down. Reporters camped outside her house, wanting to know more about the girl who challenged LeBron. Her family, initially apprehensive, came to support her fully. Her father, proud, told everyone that his daughter had always been a fighter. Determined to do her best, Maria intensified her training. She woke up at 5 a.m. every day, running around the neighborhood before going to the court. Her calloused hands and scraped knees were witnesses to her tireless effort. The Hof community, touched by Maria's story, came together to help her. A group of residents organized to renovate the neighborhood court, painting new lines and installing new backboards and nets. Mr. Johnson, from the local bar, started providing nutritious meals for Maria, insisting that she needed strength too. LeBron. Maria's story caught the attention of Tyronn Lue, former coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Impressed with the girl's determination, he offered to train her for free during the month of preparation. "You have raw talent, Maria," Lue said in their first meeting. "Let's turn this rough diamond into a jewel." Under Lue's guidance, Maria learned to refine her technique, improve her physical conditioning, and most importantly, develop strategies to face a player of LeBron's caliber. The training sessions were brutal, often leaving Maria exhausted and sore, but she never complained. Meanwhile, media pressure and public expectations grew daily. Interviews, photo shoots, and public appearances began to occupy the time Maria would normally dedicate to her studies. Her school, recognizing the extraordinary situation, made special arrangements so she could keep her grades up. As game day approached, Maria began to feel the weight of expectation. What if she made a fool of herself? What if she disappointed all those who believed in her? Doubts consumed her at night, robbing her of sleep. LeBron, for his part, treated the challenge with respect. In interviews, he praised Maria's courage and spoke about the importance of encouraging young talents, especially from underprivileged communities. "No matter the outcome of the game," LeBron declared in an interview, "Maria is already a winner. For having come this far, she's inspiring thousands of young people to dream big." On the eve of the big day, Maria was in her room, trying to calm her nerves, when her older sister, Anna, entered with an envelope in hand. "I found this among Mum's things," Anna said with teary eyes. "I think she would want you to read it now." With trembling hands, Maria opened the envelope. It was a letter from her mother, written shortly before she passed away. "My dear Maria, I know that when you read this, I will no longer be here. But I want you to know that I will always be with you in spirit. You have always been my little warrior, facing the world with a smile on your face and a basketball in your hands. Always remember, you are capable of extraordinary things. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Your heart is strong, your mind is sharp, and your will is unshakable. No matter the challenge, face it with your head held high. I am and will always be proud of you, my daughter. Play with passion, live with love, and never ever give up on your dreams. With all my love, Mom." Tears streamed down Maria's face as she hugged the letter. At that moment, all the pressure, all the fear seemed to diminish. She knew that regardless of the outcome of tomorrow's game, she had already accomplished something extraordinary. With a new fire lit in her heart, Maria fell asleep, ready to face the biggest challenge of her life. Dawn broke with an electric energy hanging in the air over Cleveland. The Rocket Mortgage Field House, home of the Cavaliers, was about to host one of the most unusual events in basketball history. The duel between LeBron James, the NBA star, and Maria, the 16-year-old prodigy from the Huff neighborhood. From early on, a crowd formed around the arena. Fans, curious onlookers, and journalists from across the country gathered, eager to witness what promised to be an unforgettable event. Social media was buzzing with hashtags like Maria vs LeBron and David vs Goliath. Inside the locker room, Maria took deep breaths, trying to control the trembling in her hands. Her father, with tears in his eyes, adjusted the custom uniform she had received for the occasion. Blue and gold, the Cavaliers' colors, but with the number 23 reversed. 32. "Remember, my daughter," he said, holding Maria's shoulders. "You're already a winner just by being here." Outside, the gym was packed. Celebrities, NBA players, and even politicians occupied the front rows. The buzz of anticipation was almost deafening. At 7 p.m. sharp, the loudspeakers announced the players' entrance. LeBron was the first, received with a thunderous ovation. He waved to the crowd, his face a mask of professional concentration. Then it was Maria's turn. As she stepped onto the court, she was greeted with an even louder roar. Posters with her name and face were raised everywhere. For a moment, the magnitude of the event hit her like a freight train, and she felt her legs weaken. LeBron, noticing the young girl's nervousness, approached her with a gentle smile. "Hey kid," he said, extending his hand, "let's give them a show, all right?" LeBron's gesture, broadcast on the giant screens, provoked emotional applause from the audience. Maria felt a wave of gratitude and respect for her idol, and some of her nervousness dissipated. The referee called both to the center of the court for final instructions. The rules were simple: a game to 21 points, whoever gets there first wins, no time limit. With the initial whistle, the game began. LeBron, with his experience and impressive physique, quickly took control. His first shots found the basket with almost cruel precision, while Maria, still struggling against nervousness, made basic mistakes. In a few minutes, the scoreboard showed 7-0 for LeBron. The crowd, which had been shouting encouragement to Maria before, now watched in tense silence. Some were already whispering that the game would end faster than expected. During a water break, Tyronn Lue approached Maria. "Take a deep breath," he advised. "Forget where you are, forget who he is. It's just you and the ball, like in practice, remember?" Maria nodded, closing her eyes for a moment. She remembered the mornings on the neighborhood court, the sound of the ball bouncing on the cracked asphalt, the feeling of the rusty rim giving way under the weight of her baskets. When the game resumed, something had changed. Maria began to move more fluidly, her passes and dribbles gaining confidence. She scored her first points with a beautiful mid-range shot, drawing enthusiastic applause from the crowd. LeBron, far from slowing down, seemed impressed with Maria's recovery. He intensified his game, answering each of her baskets with an even, more spectacular one. The second quarter saw Maria finding her rhythm. She began to make shots that she had previously missed, and even managed a block on LeBron that made the entire arena jump out of their seats. At halftime, the scoreboard showed 14-7 for LeBron. Still a considerable difference, but no longer the blowout that many feared at the beginning. In the locker rooms, Tyronn Lue gathered Maria with her family and some close friends. "You're playing well," he said, "but you're still playing scared. LeBron isn't your idol now, he's your opponent. Show him what you're capable of." Anna, Maria's sister, handed her their mother's letter. "She would be so proud of you," she whispered. With tears in her eyes, but with a new determination in her heart, Maria returned to the court for the third quarter. The crowd, sensing they were about to witness something special, leaned forward in their seats. LeBron, coming out of the locker room, noticed the change in Maria's posture. Their eyes met for a moment, and a small smile appeared on the star's face. He knew the real game was about to begin. With the referee's whistle, the third quarter began. Maria, with renewed confidence, started playing more aggressively and creatively. Her movements, previously hesitant, now flowed with a natural grace that made the crowd sigh in admiration. LeBron, far from backing down, responded in kind. The duel that followed was breathtaking, with both players executing plays worthy of the NBA's best moments. As the score approached the end, the tension in the arena was palpable. No one knew for sure how this story would end, but everyone was certain they were witnessing something truly extraordinary. The air in the Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse was charged with electricity as the third quarter unfolded. Maria, with a new confidence burning in her eyes, began to play as if her life depended on it. Her transformation was palpable, and the crowd reacted to her every move with a mixture of amazement and admiration. Suddenly, as if a switch had been flipped, Maria began sinking three-pointers in sequence. 1, 2, 3 perfect shots that cut through the air and found the bottom of the net with almost supernatural precision. The arena erupted in cheers and applause with each basket. LeBron, far from being shaken, seemed genuinely impressed. His face, usually impassive during games, now showed a mix of surprise and respect. He intensified his own game, responding with spectacular plays that reminded everyone why he was considered one of the best of all time. But Maria was unstoppable. She moved across the court with feline grace, anticipating LeBron's movements and responding with surprising quickness. The difference in the score, which before had seemed insurmountable, began to shrink rapidly. Soon 10, 14-13, 15-13, 15-15. The crowd was in ecstasy. Celebrities in the front rows were on their feet, shouting encouragements. In the stands, fans hugged, strangers, united by the emotion of the moment. It was then that the moment occurred that would be etched in the memory of everyone present. LeBron had possession of the ball and was preparing for one of his famous drives to the basket. Maria, reading the movement, managed to anticipate it. With a quick motion, she swatted the ball, stealing it from LeBron's hands. What followed was pure basketball magic. Maria dribbled skillfully, avoiding LeBron's attempt to recover. As she approached the basket, she leapt. Time seemed to slow down as Maria flew through the air, the ball firm in her hands. With a fluid movement, she dunked the ball, executing a slam worthy of LeBron himself. The gym erupted. The roar of the crowd was deafening. NBA players present rose from their seats, giving a standing ovation. LeBron, for a moment, stood still, mouth agape, before shaking his head with a smile of admiration. Maria landed on the court, her chest heaving, hardly believing what she had just done. Her eyes found her father's in the crowd, who was openly crying with pride. The scoreboard now showed 15-17, with Maria in the lead for the first time in the game. LeBron, far from being discouraged, seemed energized by the challenge. He raised the intensity of his game to a level few had seen before. The duel that followed was breathtaking, with both players exchanging incredible baskets to the delight of the audience. 17, 18-19, 20-19. Each point was contested as if it were the last. Maria was playing at the limit of her abilities, her determination emanating from every pore. LeBron, in turn, showed why he was considered the king, with moves that defied logic and physics. As the game approached its end, the tension was palpable. Sports commentators broadcasting live were at a loss for words to describe what they were witnessing. With the score at 20-20, the next point would decide the game. The crowd was on its feet, holding its breath. LeBron had possession of the ball. He moved to attack, his eyes focused on the basket. Maria positioned herself on defense, every muscle in her body tense, ready to react. LeBron feinted left, then right, trying to create space for the shot. Maria followed every movement, sticking to him like a shadow. When LeBron finally jumped for the shot, Maria jumped with him, stretching to her maximum. Her fingers grazed the ball, deflecting it just enough for it to hit the rim and ricochet out. Maria grabbed the rebound with all her might. Now, with possession of the ball and the chance to win the game, Maria found herself face to face with LeBron. The clock showed only 3 seconds remaining. The entire arena held its breath. Maria took a step back, then another. LeBron advanced, his arms outstretched, a human wall impossible to overcome. With just 1 second on the clock, Maria had no choice. She jumped, arching her body backwards, and launched the ball in a long-distance shot. The ball spun in the air, tracing a perfect arc towards the basket. The entire gym fell silent as the ball traveled, as if time itself had stopped. The ball hit, the rim spinning. Time seemed to freeze as the ball spun on the rim. Thousands of eyes were fixed on that small orange object, as if the fate of the world depended on its trajectory. For a moment that seemed like an eternity. The ball danced indecisively between, falling in or out, and then, as if obeying a greater force, it fell into the basket. The silence that preceded that moment was broken by a deafening explosion of screams, applause, and cries of joy. Maria had done the impossible. She had beaten LeBron James 21-20. The young girl stood still for a second, incredulous, before being engulfed by a wave of people. Her family members, neighborhood friends, and even strangers rushed onto the court to hug her and lift her onto their shoulders. Tears of joy streamed down Maria's face, mixing with the sweat from the superhuman effort she had just accomplished. LeBron, showing the class of a true champion, made his way through the crowd to reach Maria. With a genuine smile on his face, he hugged her tightly, lifting her off the ground. "You're amazing, girl," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "You didn't just beat me. You exceeded all expectations. I'm proud of you." LeBron's words, captured by nearby microphones, were broadcast throughout the gym, provoking a new wave of applause and shouts of approval. In the minutes that followed, Maria was surrounded by journalists, cameras, and microphones. Everyone wanted to hear from the young sensation how she had accomplished the impossible. "I just played with my heart," Maria managed to say between sobs of happiness. "I thought about my mother, my family, my neighborhood. I wanted to show that no matter where you come from, your dreams are valid." Social media exploded with the news. Within minutes, Maria's name became the most talked about topic globally. Videos of her incredible performance, especially the final basket, went viral instantly. In the days that followed, Maria's life transformed completely. Representatives from various prestigious universities appeared at her door, offering full scholarships. Sports brands competed to sign sponsorship deals with her. But the most significant change came from LeBron James himself. At a press conference, called a week after the game, he announced, "Maria's performance inspired me and made me realize that we need to do more to support young talent, especially girls in underprivileged communities. That's why I'm creating the Maria program, a project that will establish women's basketball leagues in low-income neighborhoods across the country." The announcement was met with enthusiastic applause and quickly became national news. Maria, invited to participate in the program's launch, couldn't hold back tears as she saw the impact her courage was having. In the months that followed, Maria became a symbol of overcoming and inspiration. She was invited to TV shows, sporting events, and even to speak at the UN about the power of sports in social transformation. Despite all the sudden fame, Maria didn't forget her roots. She used part of the money she earned from sponsorships to renovate the basketball court in her neighborhood and establish a mentoring program for young athletes. A year after the famous game, it was announced that Maria's story would be turned into a movie. Major Hollywood studios competed for the rights, with the promise that part of the profits would go to sports programs in underprivileged communities. On the movie's premiere night, Maria sat between her family and LeBron James, who had become a mentor and close friend. As the lights dimmed and the first chords of the soundtrack began to play, Maria closed her eyes for a moment. She remembered that morning, just over a year ago, when she left home with a worn-out ball under her arm, dreaming of a better future. At that moment, sitting in a Hollywood cinema surrounded by people who admired her, Maria realized that her dreams had not only come true, but had gone far beyond what she had ever dared to imagine. The movie began, telling the story of the poor, a girl who challenged the king of basketball and, in the process, inspired an entire generation. And as the scenes unfolded on the screen, Maria knew with absolute certainty that this was just the beginning of a much greater journey.